And welcome back to Pure Nebraska. Here on the program, we like to put the spotlight on the farm women's group Common Ground. On both a local and national level, Common Ground volunteers work to spread a positive message about agriculture to consumers.
It's been snowy and cold this week, so you might think there's not much to do for corn producers this time of year, but that certainly is not the case. Joining us now to talk about how the work never really slows down is Common Ground volunteer Leslie Boswell from Shickley. Thanks for being here today, Leslie.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
How was your drive?
It was very good. I came in last night, actually, and stayed at my daughter's house last night.
That's because she's making meatballs
Yes.
a little bit later for us. So
I
she
actually had them in the oven this morning before 7.
It's nice to have a daughter here, isn't it?
It helps.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, you know, we were out there this fall watching your corn harvest, everything that was going on. But, you know, even though it's cold outside now, you still have plenty of work, don't you?
There is plenty of work to do. Yesterday when I was coming into Lincoln, I saw several places where they were spreading dry fertilizer. So that can go on when the ground is already frozen, even with the snow. Doesn't make any difference. When it melts, it'll melt into the ground. But there's, up until the time the ground freezes, there's all kinds of fall field work you can do. You can shred stalks, you can, if you do any deep tillage, which not very many people do anymore, but you can do that in the fall. It kind of opens up the ground, lets the moisture go in, but the problem with that is in the springtime it tends to dry out quicker. So there's pros and cons on that one. For us, for my husband and I, we're very active in commodity groups and in other farm organizations. And so we've got 4 seasons, but they're not quite the same as everybody else's. We've got planting season, irrigating season, harvest season, and meeting season. And that's what we've been doing. And we just got back from Orlando. We had a soy college down there sponsored by the American Soybean Association, teaching, developing, nurturing young leaders. And then we also went to the American Farm Bureau Association National Convention. They happened to both be in Orlando. Really worked out slick for us.
Yeah, I know you and your husband are both very much involved in the groups and in leadership positions within agriculture. As we mentioned, we were out at your farm earlier this fall for the harvest, and we'll show some video of you kind of running the combine and doing some work there. But again, you know, the work never really slows down. I wanted to ask you this. Do you guys do anything with cover crops? I know some farmers do that where they're, you know, putting cover crops on in the fall, and it's like turnips and different kinds of things that's supposed to maybe bring some nitrogen back into the soil. Do you do anything like that, or do you see people doing that?
Oh, I see a lot of people doing that. A lot of people use the turnips and then will turn cattle out on them because they can forage down, dig down, and get the turnip. But it creates openings in the soil, helps loosen it up a little bit, and then it does install some nitrogen. There's also a forage type radish that they can use. There's several other cover crops that just cover the ground. They don't really necessarily work in, like planting something like rye or clover. And those would be tilled up in the spring. We don't do that because we're on a rotation where we rotate the corn and the soybeans every other year. Soybeans help fix the nitrogen. The next year the corn doesn't need quite as much fertilizer as it would if you were just going corn on corn. Plus you lose a whole lot less of the insecticides, and you can cut back on fertilizer. So it's a win-win situation on that situation.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure there's just a lot of planning going on this time of the year.
There
planning
always
for
is.
spring.
There always is. A lot of the seed purchases are already made. We're starting at Husker Harvest Days on putting in orders.
Wow.
And in fact, our seed is going to be delivered tomorrow. So you're getting ready for decisions have probably been made on seed, on fertilizer purchases. We do not put on any anhydrous, so ours will be either a liquid or a dry fertilizer spread during season. So we don't have to worry about that, but there's a lot of that going on right now. If the ground wasn't frozen, I know there's tanks sitting on the end of the fields. They'd be putting on anhydrous.
Interesting.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Leslie, thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, for telling us a little more about what's going on in the off season, which there really is never an off season. So thank you.
No, there's not.